Oh no! Dang, I'm so sorry that the audio is not working. I should have, I should have double-checked that I hit that correctly. Sorry guys, okay, well I'm ready to start. Now I'm ready to start. What I was saying was that I'm gonna be doing a little bit more tooling on this today. Sorry guys! Hey Link fan, thank you so much for the 8th month sub. You are awesome. You have been so consistent. Thank you so much for your support. Alright, well, forgive my blunder there at the front. I hit my mute button before and after, but maybe it was like already on the wrong setting because I swore I hit it, but I guess it was just either the button didn't press or it was already on. Hello, Piano Sammy, I'm glad you could stop by, and a couple other people. Alright, so as I was saying, I'm going to add some texture to this, starting with a lot of what we were doing last time. And I've got the music a little bit too loud on my end, but I think I've fixed it. Okay, and I'm going to start by getting my, well, I have a couple things ready. I've got water, I've got my sponge. I'm going to grab my swivel knife again, because I used a grooving tool to create this border, but it's not very deep. It's not deep enough to bevel. So I am going to make cuts in the same way that I did to prepare all of these lines to be beveled. Basically just gonna trace my own line all the way around the outside and then bevel that. And that's where we will start today. I'm gonna continue with my like stropping is what it's called, where you're basically continually sharpening your knife as you go. Because it does dull very quickly and it's sensitive, so you want to always have it in its best condition. Kilding Gold, that's awesome. Thanks for coming by. Penguin Cosplay, thank you for subscribing. I think I need to adjust my desktop audio. Yeah, sorry. The music on my end was drowning out the song, or sorry, not the song, the chime, I guess, of the sub button, so hopefully now I can hear it. Well, thank you, Penguin Cosplay, for subscribing. I am rubbing Jeweler's Rouge on some of this scrap leather. This is going to be my surface for keeping this knife sharp. That's much better. Magnion, I hope is maybe the pronunciation there. Thank you so much for subscribing. Alright. Link fan, what? Link fan, what the hell? Link fan donated $500 saying, here's some money to make up for your hiatus for the past couple of months. Holy crap, Link fan, what the hell, man? That's a lot of money. Thank you. You've been here the last couple of months, though. Donating all along. Thank you so much. That's incredible. That's definitely going to be a top donor of the stream, probably. Yeah, thank you so much. Wow, dude. Way to put me in a good mood at the very, very beginning of tonight's work. Tonight is going to be a really good night. Thank you, Link fan. Oh, now I have to make this belt super good. Because everybody's watching me now. They're like, she better not mess this up. Which I already was hoping that I wasn't gonna mess this up. But I think it looks pretty good so far. So thank you, Link fan. Thank you for that. Alright, I have some water all over here. The leather changes color as you apply the water. And that makes it easier to cut. So that's what we're doing with that. Talos, maybe? 39 is new. Thank you. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, Katsucon is in 2 weeks, so that money is gonna be very helpful for Katsucon. Oh no, Tiny Bear is sick. I'm so sorry. I hope that you feel better soon. So I'm gonna start the swivel knife right in this groove and very carefully drag it along in the line that was marked out by our grooving tool. have to make sure that I'm as steady as possible. I don't think that a straight edge would work very well with this tool specifically because the blade is really thick and you kind of have to be really careful about the angles and it'd be really hard to see what I was doing. So I'm just gonna be really, really careful and do my best there. Shelb C just subscribed for 8 months in a row as well, so thank you so much. Thanks for your loyalty here to our stream. Keldingle is asking, what does Jeweler's Rouge, what does it do? It's sort of like a powdery, it's like chalky. And so it kind of deposits a powder on the surface of the leather, and then that can be used for polishing / sharpening. So that's what it does. So I'm just using it on scrap leather down here. This is just a chunk that was left over from when I cut this belt. But it is going to enable me to continue to sharpen this by just dragging the blade across the surface. Is the sharp angle of the leather to imitate the hanging of her belt? Yeah. So here, I'll hold it up over here. There is like a weird like elbow in the belt. This is going to be connected like this. And then the belt buckle will cover the point where it is connected. So this is going to be like a fake belt buckle basically that sits on top. So I'm probably going to cut these a little bit. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to configure them when they meet, but there's going to be a belt buckle sitting on top of here. And so it'll go around my body like this and then have the hanging portion. So it's kind of like a dry lubricant. I don't know if that's a technical definition necessarily, but it's like a polishing compound, I guess you could call it. All right, once again, I'm going to concentrate on cutting as steadily as I can and not getting my own fingers. The guide, like the groove that I'm following, is pretty straight, but the leather also just has weird dips and variations and stuff. So I'm still trying to like guide it as much as possible and not just trust the texture of what's already here. All right, and let me cut this here at the end too. All right, Dark Floof Bun is asking, where's a good place to buy leather? I get most of my stuff from Tandy. They have stores all over the United States, so if you live in the US, you'll have a good chances of finding one near you. Otherwise, if you have to order online, I generally go through Hide House, and I tend to buy like garment leather through Hide House and this type of veg tan leather I'll normally get through Tandy, but I'm pretty sure they sell that at Hide House too. I just like to buy it in person because less on shipping and stuff. Whereas Tandy doesn't always have the right specific colors and styles of other hides in stock, and Hide House always has a huge variety, so. Yes, Keldingle, you got it. Hey, Alpaca Ash. Welcome. Thanks for coming by the stream. Oh, hey, Vardana. Amber, thanks for coming to the stream. They have Tandy in some places in Canada. That's awesome. All right, now I'm gonna move my slab out of the way for this because then I can lay my belt perfectly flat, and I'm gonna continue my cutting all the way around the outside. Man, I really need more space over here. All right, see you soon, Link fan. MEB is recently did a leather belt too. That's cool. Yeah, leather belts are handy to know because so many costumes call for them. So it's a good skill to have and to be able to do different types. Oh, it's for this costume too. That's awesome. Oh, hey, and April's here too. Man, there's so many friends here. You guys are awesome. Thanks for all coming to my stream tonight. All right. Forgive my concentration on this as I make my cut. All right. Welcome, William of the Runekeepers. You haven't missed too much. I just started making a cut. And Up and Champ, welcome to our chat room tonight. Working on some cosplay. I added the image of what I'm working on to the lower corner of my little stream setup, so you'll have a reference image for what this version of Zelda is that I'm working on. Hey! What is the name? Kenogaru Yuki just subscribed. Thank you so much for subscribing. Phoenix Fire is asking if they should use a sealer when painting a shoe with jacquard fabric paints. I would say generally yes, because if you don't, it can retain a little bit of like tackiness to the surface, and sometimes like painted shoes will stick to each other if you don't seal them. So I don't know about jacquard specifically, but I know that Angelus makes a clear sealer for their paints, and that's what I generally use. All right, so I'm just gonna slide this along and cut all of this. Oh, that's cool. Kelding Gull decided to Google the Jeweler's Rouge and found out that it's made out of rust. And it's a finely ground, plain old iron rust. That's really neat. I did not know that. Vardana, yes, Lee Kovacs is also working on this, and Marita also just finished her version. She hasn't posted photos of it yet, but she did a blog post where she talked about making some of the 3D printed accessories. So there's multiple people that are all really great working on this at the same time, which is cool because then we all get to see like different interpretations of how to go about making each part. And we had someone else here in the stream tonight that was working on this costume too, so there is a bunch. So much Zelda love. Hey Scarlet Moth, thank you so much. This is a nice relaxing song to cut my leather groove. All right. So that whole side is done. I'm gonna pull this back down over here and cut the other side, and then we'll be ready to continue beveling. Hey, Epsilon Veritas, thank you so much for subscribing. Saying, well, my husband just subscribed, so I can't let him show me up. Well, thank you guys. Thank you both. I like that attitude. Thank you all for coming and joining me for the creation of this whole costume. Oh yeah, I guess I can show off my sewing work at some point. I made a post today kind of showing a lot of it, but it always looks cooler on stream, or you can see a little bit more detail on stream at least, so maybe I'll do that in a little bit once we reach a stopping point on this. My thoughts for tonight are that I want to try to get all of the tooling completely done and put dye on the leather, which I still have to decide what color we're using, but I have a bunch of options, so surely I will like one of them. And we can do some color samples, and you guys can take a look at the options and maybe help me decide. Yeah, it's finally like 2 weeks before, pretty much, because I'm going to be traveling to Katsucon on a Wednesday. So today is Wednesday, and it's exactly 2 weeks before my travel day, so I now have... It's like in that final crunch time where this is going to be... I've got to be full speed ahead to make sure everything is ready and everything is done, both on this costume and on other costumes that I'm bringing. And I'm almost ready to announce my lineup. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. But I think I've already talked about it here on the stream. I feel like I always talk about everything early on streams, so that people who are here get to hear all my thoughts. And everybody else just has to wait till I decide to make announcements that I never keep to myself beforehand on streams. Do you know someone else cosplaying this at Katsu? Not this particular costume, but I know other people who are cosplaying as other versions of Zelda or Link for Katsu. So I have people that I'm planning to meet up with and take photos together. But I don't know of anybody doing this particular one. There might be another one, I wouldn't be surprised. Am I staining or painting this belt? This will be dyed, so it's like a stain more than a paint. Kind of seeps into the leather itself. The Bard, thank you so much, complimenting my hair. I didn't like it that much today, so I put a hat on, but I do like wearing little beanies. The legendary Katsu Crunch, yes. I'm actually just marveling at the fact that I am so much less stressed out this year than I have been in previous years. Well, specifically last year, I was really stressed because I was trying to finish my Twilight Princess Zelda. And that costume, I was seriously, like, uncertain that it would be finished until right before the convention. So during my whole crunch period leading up to it, I was really nervous that I would fail to meet my deadline and then have to cancel all the photo shoots I had planned and stuff. But this year has been marvelous because I do not feel like that. I know that I'm going to finish this, and I'm really confident about that. It just depends on... This costume's definitely getting done. I have one other one that I'm working on, like, small parts of, accessories of. So if anything gets sacrificed, that's what will end up getting sacrificed, but this one I'm really confident about. What day am I wearing this to Katsu? Asks Emmy B. I'm wearing this on Friday. There's a pretty decent amount of people who are planning stuff on Friday. We're not like officially a group like walking around together. We're just going to all wear stuff on the same day so that when we run into each other, inevitably we'll all be ready to take photos together. But that's our plan, Friday of Katsucon. What con's next for me after Katsucon? Katsucon, then Emerald City Comic Con, which is here in Seattle, and then that's at the beginning of March. And then at the end of March is SakuraCon. So those are the three that I'm like currently confirmed for and planning on going to for sure. And I don't know, I guess other stuff is always possibilities of if I hear about something, but those are the three that I have planned right now. Okay, so I've got my slab back out and we will continue working on this guy. And I'm gonna get some water because I think the end of my coffee has made me over caffeinated. All right. So I'm done with the swivel knife pretty much. I'm not going to do any more cuts on this. I just need to start with my beveling tool, which is the same thing I was using in the last stream. So this is what this looks like. It is a slanted head on that is going to basically have like a leading edge right here, and then it's pressing the leather down on one side of that edge. And so the general idea is that we're just creating the look of a raised surface by pushing one of the sides of the cut down. I have a couple different color options. Keldingle is asking how I stain the leather to the right color. I have a couple of different dye options, and we'll just try them on some scrap leather until we figure out which one we like the most. And I need my tiny anvil to prevent this from sliding all around. And still my hand. Hey, LinkFan! LinkFan donated $20 saying, I'm back. Welcome back, LinkFan. Thank you for outdoing yourself. You're too much, but I appreciate it. Thank you. So I am tapping the head of this tool and allowing the tap to move it along and slide right down this line. And this is actually adding a lot. I really like this. I'm really glad we decided to do this. So rather than my hand pushing this along, the motion of the taps is what is propelling it. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can fully tell the difference between like this section and the rest that hasn't been cut yet, but in person I think it's pretty pretty noticeable. I'm gonna add a little bit more water because this hide is pretty dry. So when it gets harder to make impressions, you just can add a little bit more water. Bring it up to the right moisture level. Oops. Unfortunately, my whole piece just slides along. The little tiny anvil doesn't quite do its job well enough, but it's still the best I have. Did I ever work out which shape Zelda's bag is? Tiny Bear is asking. I think that a couple other cosplayers gave me the idea, and I agree with this, that it must just be like a perspective difference. I tweeted this. This is in reference to a tweet that I made, by the way, for those that missed it. But the bag that Zelda wears on her belt, in this version of the costume, it looks like it's tall and skinny. But then if you look at the other version of her costume, it's the same belt, but it's like wide and short. And so I wasn't sure if it was which one is supposed to be accurate, because it really does look like the same bag. Like, it has all of the other details. It just appears to have like a size or a proportion difference. It's weird. Can I clamp the piece? No, I don't want to put any pressure on specific points because that will create an impression. The tiny anvil is useful because it's just a weight, but it's got like kind of a large surface, so it's not creating an impression. But if I were to clamp it in like one particular place, it would be more susceptible to that. So I'm just going to do my best to brace it with my hand. And it does move a little bit, but whatever. Anyway, for the Zelda bag, I think I'm just going to go and make it like shorter and wider because that's the one that I have better references for. I'm going to push this up. So I feel like that would be more accurate, probably. Tiny Anvil Hype. Hey, Travelsome. Welcome. Oh, is this on something? Yeah, what's under there? Pardon me, guys. Why is this rocking back and forth? It's like little leather crap under there. Maybe my table isn't totally even. Yeah, it must not be. There's like a distortion in the table. Okay, interesting. Well, I can't set it like that in that position because it's gonna rock back and forth. That one's fine though if I have it just vertical. Okay, interesting. Let me drop my mallet, or let me pick up my mallet that I dropped. Red Bard is asking me if I'm a fan of the Atelier video game series, which I am. I haven't played a bunch of the games though. I played Atelier Rorona and cosplay from that one, but I didn't necessarily play a bunch of the other games, but the ones that came after that were all pretty highly reviewed. So I'm not really an authority on them to give you a recommendation, I'm sorry. But I did play that game and I did enjoy it, and I really liked Rorona's character design. Alright, I'm just gonna continue. Now this portion down here will actually be covered by this belt tip that I'll show you in just a moment. Kind of at an awkward angle now, but I'll make it work. Am I like, yeah, working off the off the screen? With each new stream setup, I get slightly better, but I mean in terms of like camera angles and table space, but I feel like this still needs some fine tuning. All right. Let me grab those pieces. These guys, Alpaca Ash is here. Oh, there we go. Oh yes, you guys asking and answering your own questions. Yes, that is the correct definition of Atelier. Army of Ancients, thank you so much for the $20 donation, saying check out Makita as your preferred drill instead of DeWalt. It's just a better drill for close to the same cost. Okay, I will check that out. Thank you. I'm gonna write that down in my list of stuff. Yeah, they're referring to the fact that I have that DeWalt drill. What is it? Makita? Makita. On my wish list. But I will check out reviews for other products as well. Ari donated $1 saying, I love your streams, thank you. And there's a little symbol of a person throwing glitter. Thank you so much, it's really cute. Okay, I'm just sitting here like peeling this stuff off the back, which I totally don't have to do, but it's addictive. I do need to sand this down and give it like a vapor bath, so it will be smooth in the end. So I'm kind of just wasting my time right now because I'm going to do that a little bit more efficiently to clean it up later. But this is what we ended up with. So Alpaca Ash here in the chat was the one who helped me to make this 3D model. She did the 3D modeling and printed this for me, and it fits perfectly on this belt. Oh, this reminds me, I need to shave the leather down a little bit. I guess we can do that now while I'm thinking about it and talking about it, because otherwise I'll forget. But this is a skiving tool. It looks like a razor. Well, I mean, it is literally a razor, but it looks like a razor like you would use on your face or your legs or something. And we're gonna use it on the back of this leather. So, this piece that I'm using is a little bit thick, a little bit thicker than I thought that it was, or thought that I would be using when I gave her the dimensions for our model. So, it doesn't need to be very much thinner, but just a tiny bit thinner. So I'm wetting this too because the water helps anything cut. And I'm just going to pretty lightly shave off some of the material. And I'd rather have to do this several times than go too deep and remove too much, because you can't come back from that. And it's really easy to like go in at too deep of an angle and then it's bad. You don't want that. So I'm just gonna be really careful about this. Maybe someone who were better at this would be able to get it all off in one nice little slice, but I don't usually have that experience. Okay. Well, it's definitely some. Let's check how this is fitting now. So this is basically just sandwiched right in between. And these two are identical. They have a little lip around them that meets about halfway. So let's see how they feel. It's pretty good. It feels better than before. Because I'm not having to fight it to keep it closed, but I feel like I could shave off just a tiny bit more. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna bring my trash can over here because this is making a huge mess. The leather looks like cappuccino ice cream flakes now. Oh, that's a really good comparison. I actually really like that. Yeah, unfortunately, Ashley's printer was having issues, so April, who is also here in the chat tonight, agreed to do the printing for us. So now Ashley is going to send her the files, which April, I put some gemstones in the mail for you so that you can check and see that they fit. That was today, so they are now currently on the way and should be there in just a few days. But yeah, thanks to the power of friendship, I'm getting help from multiple friends to make sure that those pieces are done in time. So shout out to Ashley and April. Thank you guys so much for helping me make this happen. All right. Well, there we go. There's a couple more flakes. I'm doing like just really, really thin shavings because like I said, it's really easy to go too deep. That little tool is good for doing small areas, like, I don't know, if you're trying to install like a snap or a rivet and your leather is just barely too thick and you need to thin it down just slightly to make that, you know, fit perfectly. It's really good for those kinds of things where it's just like small area that you're removing from. It's not great for doing like a whole piece. You would want to just use a thinner leather or use like a splitter if you're trying to do like a whole hide, which is another way more expensive and bigger tool. Okay, that fits really well. There's no like extra pressure to keep it closed. That's really comfortable. So I think I'm gonna call that good. This will need to be sanded down a little bit, but it'll also be glued together. So there's a chance that it might be slightly thinner in the end, but I can continue to make adjustments to the leather if necessary. But the idea is that I'm gonna put these together first, finish the outside, and then once it's one piece, be able to slide it on to the end. Oh yeah, and this is what it will look like from the front. That's probably a lot more interesting to look at, right? Bye Phoenix Fire, having to leave for work. Well, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with us here. And hello, Casual Viking, welcome. Or no, maybe it's Jackie. Well, maybe both of you are here. I wasn't sure if you were saying hello to each other or to everyone in the chat. Welcome everyone who's joining us now. So yeah, there's that. I think that's gonna look really cool. I have now done one side here of the additional beveling, which you can really see like on these parts for sure. Oh, and welcome Solana as well. Like glue it in place? Yes, it will be glued in place. Or contact cement, something like that for sure. Maybe E6000. So yeah, any sort of like tiny gap will be filled with glue. So you can see the bevel a little bit more on this side, and then I've only done a little bit here. But that's like the difference that it's making, is this kind of shaded edge right here compared to here where there's not one. I'm about to make that consistent across the entire piece. So let's do that. Oh, I missed a comment from Tiny Bear up here saying, I don't understand how some people can see the work that goes into making cosplay and still think that mostly women who cosplay are fake geek titty cosplayers. Pisses me off. Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way. I usually don't get that comment because, I don't know. I mean, I guess I just don't usually do that kind of style of cosplay. But at the same time, it's like people who think that it's just like somehow a trick to like get attention that I don't deserve. It's like, that's ridiculous. Do you see how much effort goes into this? Like, I do this because I think it's cool. Like, anyway. So I am going to continue down the same line. I'm starting up here because I like to travel, I like the tool to travel towards me as opposed to away, because then I can keep a direct line of sight right on the edge here as it's moving. Pam Evangeline, welcome. And also Mevro Rose. I don't know how to say that. Thanks for dropping by the stream tonight. You can correct my pronunciation, perhaps. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting this belt done. I'm finally at the point where most parts of this costume are coming together, so it's starting to like look right, look like what I'm trying to make. Leather is sliding and my tiny anvil is staying in the same place. Some people tape their leather down. I guess I could put some masking tape on it. And then I have to keep peeling it up when I move it. I don't know if it'll leave any kind of residue. So instead, I'll do nothing and then just keep complaining. No, that's annoying. Where's my masking tape? Hey kitten, welcome. Oh, Anna Petty is here and subscribed, or resubscribed for 8 months. Thank you so much. You guys have been resubscribing. I didn't even realize I've had subs for 8 months. That's pretty awesome. The hammering skill increased by 1. Yes. Oh, it means Mrs. Pink in Dutch. Okay. Well, I didn't know that. I don't know how that's pronounced. Maybe you can teach me some Dutch. Alright. Let's see how this goes, if this even does anything. Hey, pink girl. Army of Ancients saying they watched some of my old videos on YouTube when my hair was different. It is very different. Thank you. I miss the old hair sometimes, but only because I used it for cosplay. Now I can't. Although I did still use my hair for Sheila cosplay. And of course this tape is not going in the right direction to be useful. Should have thought about that too. Put it up here. We'll see if that does anything. Now my piece is like partly hanging off here as well, but add some more water. Give this a shot. Link fan in the chat. A wishlist item? No, it was not a wishlist item. Link fan is just feeling generous, I guess. But it will certainly go to general cosplay and art-related funds. So, you know, it's all toward the greater good of the cosplay here. This actually is working with the masking tape. So okay, I guess that's a solution. I don't know if the masking tape on its own is strong enough, but the combo of the masking tape tiny anvil is doing the job. So I will consider this a worthy solution. Even though my leather is kind of stretching to avoid my hammer. Cool. So now this bottom section is done. And now I think it'll be a little bit easier to show this because the elbow is awkward. Now the elbow is out of the way. Yeah, that's peeling off fine. It's not hurting it at all. Muvru. Interesting. Dry erase girl. Yes, this is leather. This is veg tanned leather, which refers to the tanning process and how it's prepared. It is not made out of vegetables, nor is it vegan. I get that question a lot. It's just a regular, this one's like cowhide. And it's really great for tooling and creating really cool detailed raised impressions. Dawn from Ohio, well, thanks for stopping by. Jiggle Bits, you're gonna have to iron that binding on your own. That does not sound fun, but good luck with that. So what part of the whole thing, Anna is asking? This is the belt that goes around. This is like the part that's hanging from the front of the belt, and then this is part of what goes around the body. So that's why it has that weird bend in it. On my last stream I did most of the tooling, and now I'm just adding a little bit to the border. Music's from Cheetah Man? Heck yes. Whereabouts am I from? Is that question to everyone? Oh, that one's for people hanging out chatting. What was the question? Is there another question? DK Shuriken was, what was they at? What are they asking? Oh, don't know. Leather is vegan. It is not vegan. They make various like I don't know, imitation leathers, but none of them have this property. Like they can try to mimic like the texture or the look of leather, but none of them are, you can't do this type of tooling with them. So that's a question that I get from people who are just like, I don't want to use any sort of real animal parts, which is understandable, but like as of now, as far as I'm aware, there is no other substitute for any other substance in the world that has this particular property. Bit lumpy. I need to revisit some of that. You guys are confusing me. But that's okay. Hopefully I got everybody's questions. Oh, Link Fan's asking if I'm going to Dragon Con. I'm hoping to go to Dragon Con. It's not set in stone because I don't have a room arrangement yet, but I have some potential. I have some aspects. Prospects. That's the word that I'm looking for. Prospects. And so I think I will most likely end up back there. Yes, I do like Dragon Con quite a bit. All right, since it's all taped down right now, I'm gonna go ahead and do the underside as well before I move on to the next section and have to retape it. So much tap tap. Yes, this is definitely a tap tap stream, and then also a leather dyeing stream. Hopefully that'll happen tonight. So once I put dye on this, it'll have to wait like overnight before I can continue working on it. So that will be my stopping point for this evening. And then I can resume doing the last bits of finishing on Saturday. And that way I'll do pretty much every single step of the belt on stream. Which is always nice when I can do something from start to finish in front of everybody else. Yeah, this is getting lumpy. I'm gonna add some more water because it's kind of fighting me a little bit. Leather dyeing, yes, it's fun. Would I ever go to a Midwest con like Daisho in Wisconsin? Well, I don't know about Daisho Con in particular. I don't know anything about it, but I would love to go to a Midwest con. I attended Kitsune Con a couple years ago, and I would like to go back. But yeah. I mean, I'll go anywhere especially if I get invited there. Yeah, but generally the conventions that I make plans to attend on my own every year, I'm going to go back the other direction, are KatsuCon, Dragon Con, A-Con whenever I can. I've missed it once or twice now. And this year it'll be SakuraCon. See, that's why I'm kind of torn on Dragon Con, is it because I'm in Seattle now? And that's where PAX is the same weekend as Dragon Con. So in the past, I've always chosen Dragon Con over PAX just because I feel like it's a little bit more in line with you know, what I enjoy. Because I'm more into cosplay than gaming necessarily. But now that I'm in Seattle, it's a little bit harder to make that choice because PAX would be local for me. So we'll see. to make sure everything is really nice and smooth, and I think that looks pretty good for now. So I'm going to continue. Alright, so I got about that far. And here we go. So this will probably get done in like this one and then 2 more sections. So I've got 3 more sections total. But how about PAX East? I went to PAX East once, but it was before I was a cosplayer, so nobody knew who I was. I wasn't doing anything cool. I was just there. I love this song. Oof. Dang. I've been working really hard all day. It's just that I was working on stuff other than Zelda for once. I was working on my top secret cosplay for Katsucon. So, yeah. That one is finished though, so that's really, really good. And yes, Link fan, this is tedious, unfortunately. Luckily, I'm almost halfway done with this part, but... yeah, leather tooling gives great results, but it's not necessarily like fascinating to watch or do. It's super worth it in the end. Just a whole lot of tapping today. It's getting kind of tough. Rowdy Sniper says, haha, yeah, I saw your cameo on Jared's stream. Yes, I needed Jared to zip me up when I was working on the costume. I was doing final fittings and making sure that everything was, you know, nice and fit, snugly everywhere. And so I couldn't get into the costume without Jared to zip me up in the back. And so he was streaming, and I didn't walk onto the camera, but I was just standing there like, alright, Jared, zip me up now. And, yeah, all of those alterations are finished. And everything is nice and form-fitting and good, so I'm happy with that. Good night, Mevru. Is that what it was? Mevru Rose? Hopefully that was correct. Yeah, leather tooling is similar to wood carving, at least kind of the same concepts, and probably easier, yeah. Cosplayer husbands always need to help, that's right. He is a dutiful helper today, even though he was in the middle of streaming. Yeah, I guess all I can say about my secret cosplay is that it's actually a costume that I have made and worn in the past, but I thought it would never see the light of day again. But now it will. So there's your hint. But it's coming back in a different version. It's no longer what it was, it is now something else. Guesses, you can guess, but I'm not necessarily going to give it away unless I just decide to, because I'm streaming and I can't keep up my own secrets. Nerds and Crafts is asking, is he also my handler at cons, referring to Jared? Yes. Jared is a very, very good handler. He knows what I need. He'll, like, take behind-the-scenes photos on my camera, or on my phone, without me having to ask him to, anytime I'm, like, doing a photo shoot with someone, or stuff like that. He's always there to help open doors and make sure I'm able to get into the costume and stay mobile, and yeah, Jared's pretty great. He's got all of the handler skills down pat. Jared is such a good friend. He is a good friend. That's right. He's also a good husband, but you know what? We're best friends beyond that, so. Okay. I'm just gonna selectively retrace my steps a little bit. And make sure all the intersecting lines look good too. Cool. Hi Synchraphy, welcome. After many years, he's an amazing handler. That's also very true. I've been with Jared for longer than I've been cosplaying, actually. I mean, before I was like a real cosplayer, I would actually finish outfits. I used to wear like crappy, unfinished outfits to conventions, but I didn't start really getting into cosplay and actually being any good at it until much later when I was already dating Jared. And now we're married, and so he knows. He's strapped in for life. He signed up for this, and that he's just going to have to follow me around conventions until I'm 80 years old, walking with a cane and cosplaying. He's going to be there with me, 83 years old, taking my photos. That's probably not true, but you know what? I can dream. I'm not going to I'm not going to make any statements about things I will or won't be doing at age 80. Anna Petty, planning your cosplay stuff. Yeah, I need to get back to you on that stuff as well. So I apologize for my silence on my end, but I will. It's a bad month for returning emails. Oh, I'm so sorry to everyone. That's a blanket apology to everyone who needs to get a hold of me for any reason. It's Katsu Crunch month, and Heidi is unavailable during the month of January. This section is going very smoothly. Makona has resubscribed for 8 months. Thank you so much. Wow, you guys are awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for... I can't believe people have stayed subbed for that long, especially when I wasn't active during that entire time. So you guys are amazing. Seriously, that is super awesome. DK Shuriken says, I'm guessing your future cosplay is Impa from Breath of the Wild. You mean, oh, like when I'm 80? Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna have to add that to my cosplay list. When I'm 80 years old, yeah, I'll cosplay Impa when I'm 80. I'll still be cosplaying for Breath of the Wild. I'll have, from now until then, I'm only gonna work on Breath of the Wild costumes and I'll make every single thing from the game, and that's how long it will take, is the next many decades of my life. I'm down. I'll do it. I'll stream it all if you guys will keep coming to my streams. Yeah, that was all of that. Cool. Alright, bottom side. Input from Skyward Sword. That one's good too. Abby is asking, have I ever bought a wig because you love the color and now you have it and it's a good color but you have no reason / character to wear it? Yes. And I hold on to those wigs, and usually I'll bring extra wigs to a convention because a lot of the time, like for Zelda, the wig is okay, but it's not really comfortable. So you wear the wig all day and you have like horrible wig hair underneath it, but then you want to go out for like dinner or something after you're done cosplaying. You can put on your party wig, which is your I love this color or style wig, but I don't have a reason to wear it wig. And so I'll change from like whatever my big cumbersome cosplay wig is into something that's comfortable and hopefully cute. And that way I don't have wig hair in the evening. And that's my method, and that's what I do, and that's how I justify purchasing wigs that I know I don't need for costumes, but I'm like, oh, it's so adorable though. I love the style. That's usually how that goes. Or you could always put together an original design, like come up with a color scheme that you like, and then like a theme for, you know, what that represents. Your party wig. Yeah, I like to wear wigs when I have a variety of party wigs that I'll just put on when I feel like changing my appearance for the hell of it. You know, like when you want to dress up for a party, just for the hell of it. Want to look fresh, have some different colored hair. This masking tape is actually wonderful. I'm going to start just taping everything down now, which I've known of this trick for quite some time. I just like don't do it. I'm adding more water to this. Kelding Gull says that they'll be watching my streams when I'm decades from now. They'll be watching the streams on a holographic projector. You'll have embedded in their forehead in the future. Sounds good. Great. See you there. Link fan, you've never worn a wig? You honestly should. They're so much fun. I'm about to get Jared a wig for his D&D cosplay, which I talked about last time. I'm really excited about. He's wearing that to Katsucon as well. But yeah, no, wigs are super fun. I just love being able to change my hair because I don't really change my hair in real life. Like, I like the color it is, and it grows pretty slowly, so I'm not like getting it cut or dyed all the time or anything like a lot of people do. So I'm too lazy to change my hair that much in real life, basically is what it comes down to. But having the ability to like just do a hair quick change whenever you feel like it for, you know, no reason at all, that's fun. All right. We are nearing the very, very end. There's like only a couple inches left on this side of the tape, so we'll see how much we can get done there. Party wig sounds like it could be a band name. Hell yeah. Everybody put on your party wigs. Let's go. Recommendations for wig caps? That's a good question. I usually just buy wig caps when I buy my wigs. I know that sometimes some are better and like tighter than others, but I can never keep track of like which are the better brands. But I've been happy with like those mesh wig caps that you get from Arta that are like the netting ones, the ones that are like they're like an open weave as opposed to like a nylon stocking. Those are generally pretty good. I feel like I've got a little bit of a better rhythm, which always happens. Like, I'll start a project and by the end of the project I'm like really grooving on it. Yeah, it's weird how there's like variations in the density of the leather, and sometimes you'll just reach a spot that's like a little bit more difficult or stubborn. Alright, I have this much on this side, and then I have a couple inches that are not on camera currently, and then we're almost done with this and we can move on to testing dye colors. Then we'll decide which one and dye this belt, and that will be our stream for tonight. So that'll still probably be at least another hour. Yes, there was a question, and Purple Alzir answered it correctly. Jared wants Adia's hair to be a little bit longer, a little bit straighter, and just slightly different style than what he has in real life. So it's going to be not like super drastically different, but it'll be a little bit more probably cartoonish looking with the wig. So not a super drastic change, but noticeable. Bit more water. My mallet is like sliding off the table. Oh, Link Fan wants to do Dieth art. You know, don't get too down on yourself. Just keep practicing. That's how you get better at art, whether it's drawing or making a leather belt. Spots to help smooth it out overall. Oh, I got an itch on my face. Ow. Alright, it's about 8:15, which is awesome that this only took me a little over an hour to do this portion. I'm sure I'll be done by like 8:30 at least. So that's pretty good timing. It's actually been really nice to have this portion of the costume happening on stream because I don't have to like think that far ahead. I always know what I'm gonna do. I have my tools and stuff already laid out for it, so it'll be nice to have something that I can do entirely on stream. So I just flipped it around so that you can see the last portion of it. And now everything that we've tooled is all on that side. Keldingle says, every time they see Jared as Dieth, it becomes the Dieth I see in my mind when I watch dice camera action. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it'll all turn out. I agree with that. And yeah, I mean, Dieth is him. It's like a different version of him, you know. It's not literally Jared in real life, but Dieth is like another facet of Jared, I guess you could say. Roldiform Voltron says they force themselves to post DCA art even though they're not confident. I'd love to see your fan art and practice always helps. Yeah, it's a great attitude. You know, it's hard to put yourself out there, but a lot of the time it is rewarding. And just feeling more confident in yourself and getting that feedback and finding friends too who are into the same kind of stuff you draw. All the way down one side. Now I just have to finish this edge and we're ready to go. Vivas5 says, I had no idea you could do that to leather. I'm amazed and so is my cosplayer friend. Well, good. Now you know something new that you can do with leather. And yes, it does take a little bit of investing to get all the tools you need to do this kind of thing, but it's super worth it in my opinion because so many costumes include leather details. And even just having the ability to make like a somewhat simple belt is something that you can apply over and over again to different costumes. Oh. So yeah, it's a super useful skill, especially when you're doing these kinds of raised designs. And if you hold on just a minute, once I'm done with this section, I'll show the whole thing off again together. When you're doing this, you don't want the tool to skip forward very far, and just do really light taps at a time. I'm going back to kind of reshape a little bit of the like sidelines that got flattened out again. That looks pretty good. So that's it for the tooling, which is awesome because I am tired of doing that, but it was super worth it. So now here is the whole belt. It's upside down right now, but there's a lot going on here, and back to the end. So once again, and now on my other camera, here's how it goes all together and how it will meet and have a fake belt buckle just like positioned right over this area. And that's that. So the next thing that I'm going to do to this belt is make it darker to give it some color. I'm going to check in with the chat and see what I missed, and then I'll need to move my setup around just a little bit. Actually, I don't have to do that yet. I spoke too soon. Talking about tabletop. Yeah, you can do tabletop games online if you're looking for a group. It's a good place to start. Ooh, my tiny anvil dropped, but it's okay. It didn't break. Kelting Gull is asking, what's the phrase in English? How do you say the concept of not being happy with your own creations because you see flaws nobody else ever notices? In English, there's the common phrase that we say is like, oh, you are your own worst critic, because again, you're paying attention to things and you care about things other people don't notice. There's probably like a more concise word for that topic or that general idea, but I don't know, maybe someone else can give that answer. That's the phrase that comes to my mind when I think about that. If anyone knows how to get rid of that insecure feeling, I'd love to know. Practice, growth, like tracking your own growth and seeing like, wow, this is so much better than whatever I made a year ago, is really exciting and really validating. Like how I said that I was working on Secret Cosplay that was kind of a revisited version of something that I did in the past. I was basically like making some alterations and making sure it fit me really nicely and looking at the inside of it. And it's something that I only sewed like, I guess a few years ago, but the difference in quality between now and what I would do, how I would do it differently now versus how I did it just a little while ago was actually pretty surprising to me. And so I had that moment today where I was looking at my old work and thinking like, wow, I've actually gotten a lot better since then. And, you know, the old costume wasn't terrible, and it was something that I was certainly really proud of at the time, and still think is, you know, not bad, but it was surprising to me that the difference was as obvious as it was. So that's something that you can look at with your own work, is to go back and visit some of your old stuff and say like, oh, I'm way better now. Focus on the little victories. That's a good one too. LinkFan said that he wants to do his comic because one of his friends was encouraging him. Well, yeah, I also think that you should go for it. Just to have your project that you're proud of and excited about, because you seem like you're really excited about doing it. You talk about it pretty frequently, so I mean, I think you should go for it. Alright, I just grabbed this whole huge roll of leather, and I'm ready to make some samples. Now, I've got kind of like a weird section of it that I'm just going to cut off. I'm going to use my leather shears for this, my good old, really super heavy duty scissors. And I'm just going to cut a chunk of leather. Ugh, this is pretty much scrap because it's like, it was sticking off the end in like a weird way that's not super useful. Alright, now I'm gonna haul this back. Oh, LinkFan, no, you shouldn't. You should not apologize for keeping talking about it. No, that's awesome. Like, you deserve to be excited about your projects and share them with us here. I just meant, like, you know, obviously it's on your mind if you talk about it, so, like, I'm not complaining about that at all. Don't apologize. But I think you should go for it because, you know, it seems like something that you really want. So I am just really quickly kind of wetting down the front and the back here. I probably don't need to do this much, but I just want to uncurl this piece. And it's like I said before, this is made out of this is the same leather as the belt, so it's really dry. It's pretty dry anyway. And so the leather will relax. It's still a little bit curved, but it'll relax with the water on it. Anna says, we are almost like a creative group therapy chat. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, but I also agree that a lot of artists do need that. And I think it's fantastic that people can come together here or wherever and talk about, you know, what they're working on or share their ideas and get feedback and get other people interested. I think that's awesome. Or just talk about the difficulties of it too. Okay, I need to grab my ruler, or a metal ruler specifically. What I'm gonna do is cut this little scrap here into a bunch of smaller pieces, and then I have a bunch of different dies. I can bring some of them out here. What I'm gonna be doing is making a like sample swatch ring of all of these different colors, which is quite a few. And then I'll basically have like a record of what I can expect them to look like after I use them on leather. And I'm also going to take a moment and put some lotion on my hands because leather really dries out your skin and it's really uncomfortable if you're not replacing it. That's why artists flock together like seagulls, says art theorist. I guess that's your art theory, art theorist. Artists flock together like seagulls so we can support each other. I like that theory. Synchraphy is also part of Evil Ted's community and they do that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Evil Ted is really great, especially for encouragement and teaching other artists. He's another really, really good person to follow. So if you're looking for more creative streamers, check out Evil Ted. He is the best in the business at what he does. Okay. Grabbing my ruler and a pen, and I'll be right back and we'll start cutting these pieces. Hello, Hero Brine. Welcome. Dark Floofbun is asking me, do I find myself able to pick up new cosplay skills more easily since I've gotten better at cosplay in general since I've started? Because I feel like picking up new drawing skills is easier for me the better I get at drawing. Yes, that's definitely very true. Is that once you become proficient in something, you learn it faster. So it's kind of an exponential kind of growth. I'm just decided that 3/4 of an inch wide is the width that I want these little sample strips. This is just my random decision, but that's what I want. Yeah, that's definitely true, for sure. At the beginning, you feel uncertain, and you're like, oh, I don't even know what I'm doing. At least as a brand new cosplayer, that's how I felt. And then the more time goes on, the more you kind of get over that feeling, and you're like, oh, I know how to figure out what I want to do, even if I don't exactly know what I want to do. And now at this point in my cosplay, I feel really confident that I can find solutions for almost any problem in a costume that I choose. Is that I don't always know exactly how to do it already, and I don't always do it right the first time, but I'm always confident that I can figure out how to do it right eventually. So I guess that's the difference. And now I just go for it because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll figure that out. Well, you know, if whatever I'm doing doesn't work, well, I'll just figure it out. It'll be fine. And it's always fine, so. It just takes time to get to that point. Alright, so now I've got some smaller strips. This is a good song. I need to update this playlist because DJ Cutman, our resident stream DJ, put out a new mixtape, so I might have to end up adding some of those songs onto our playlist here. Nope, not quite. Close. What am I making now? Asks Lawrence Turtles. At this exact moment, I am making just some test strips for dye colors. And I will show you what that's going to look like in just a second. But basically, I'm just at a stage where I'm about to sample all my colors and then pick the one that is our final choice for what the dye will be. Everyone's making puns in the chat. Kelding Gull is asking, am I going to need to do a little bit of tooling to see how the dye affects it? That's a very good question because the dye will affect it differently. However, I'm not going to do any samples first because I generally know what to expect, which is that it will probably be a little bit darker in those areas, and then I'm also going to add some Gel Antique, which is this stuff, which is designed to darken the tooled area specifically. So, yes, that's all of that will be happening on tonight's stream. I'm just gonna, I should have marked this before I decided to cut them. But I didn't, so I'm doing it now. So these are going to be 1.5 inches long, which is, I think, the same size as the last one I had. So, if you've been following me for very long, you're probably aware of the great flood that interrupted my life last year, which is when my house flooded and I lost all of my crafting stuff. But obviously everything's better now. I have all my crafting stuff back, thanks to you guys for the most part. So thanks again. But because of that, I lost my swatch rings. So what I'm making right now is a replacement of something that I used to have, which is just a collection of samples of different dye colors or paint colors and all of that. Anything that I've put on leather. I used to have all of these samples on hand ready to go, and they got destroyed, and I just never made more. Oh, I should probably not be trying to cut all 3 of these at once when they're separate. So this is a replacement of that thing, which is just, it's basically going to look like a keychain. I'll show you as we progress. And I'm probably going overboard and like making it look nice because you don't have to do this, but you can make it look nice if you spend just a tiny bit of time cutting even sample sizes. Or you can just use random chunks of different colors. But for the last couple of years, anytime I bought a different color paint or dye for leather that I hadn't used yet before, I would always just make a quick sample whenever the first time I used it was and add it to this keychain that kind of served as a record of everything that I had ever used, including most of it that was still, that like I had leftovers. So my sample swatch ring was a good representation of like what I could find in my closet most of the time. And everything included the name of whatever the dye was so that I could redo it or reorder it and get more if I wanted. Who needs rulers? I mean, I could just eyeball it. Oh, I missed a lot of comments. I'm gonna try to answer questions, but might not read every last thing. Yeah, I was sad, but I was sad for a really long time. Talking about my flood, I guess. I was really, really sad. I was actually super depressed for months. But now I do talk about it in a really matter-of-fact way because I'm not sad anymore. I'm not going to spend any more of my time being sad about stuff that I lost. I'm in a better place now, and so it really, really sucked to go through. And I was super emotional about it at the time, and I probably don't sound super emotional about it now, but I've done a lot of healing, and now and also I have this cool workspace now, so I'm only going to spend my time and energy thinking about moving forward. Do I do it for every type of leather I buy? No, because this type of veg tan leather is really the only kind of leather that you generally dye. I mean, I guess you... Yeah, these dyes are pretty much designed to work on this type of leather, so... Are these all the same size? They're roughly the same size. Now I have a hole punch. I'm just going to punch holes in all of them. What size do we want? I can hear Jared like screaming downstairs. Jared, what are you doing? You're interrupting my stream, bro. He's probably recording something if he's not also streaming. That's right. You guys have been fantastic moral support, so thanks you all for being here and hanging out with me. Alright, I'm using my tracing tool. Well, this isn't even wet enough. To mark where my hole is going to be on one of them. Jared is hunting, probably. I would say that, yeah. Is Jared alive? Yes, Jared is alive. Busy being a hunter, a monster hunter. He's doing a new playlist of that new Dragon Ball game. Yeah, that sounds likely. Here we go. I punched a hole in one of them using this odd little contraption. Yeah, it's got to be either Dragon Ball or Monster Hunter. His two loves. Alright. I'm going to roughly trace the position onto all of my other ones. See, this is overkill. This is just me being Heidi and being like, oh, they should be even. Which, I made these really small, to be fair. I could have definitely made these bigger. I thought I was making them the same size as my old one, but now that I'm really looking at them, I think that my old ones are bigger than this because these are tiny. But they will do their job. Just looks like a little gift tag or something. Alright, now I punch the rest of my holes. Avi is asking, would I ever do Saiyan armor? I'm not gonna say never, because I have thought about making... Well, it wasn't for me. I thought about making a Vegeta costume for one of my friends, because I cosplayed as Bulma. So I don't know if that will ever happen. I don't think I would ever be a Saiyan in particular. I don't know. I don't really have that Saiyan look. Not that you have to look like what you cosplay, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. That wasn't funny. I do like cosplaying Bulma though, and since I'm a cosplay enabler and always trying to get everybody to cosplay with me, I think that it's not terribly unlikely that I would someday do Saiyan armor for a group or something. So I'm gonna give that one a hard maybe. You'd watch every stream of that, says Tiny Bear, making Saiyan armor. Well, there are some people out there that, like, that's their thing and they're super, super good at it, which, I mean, that would stop me from trying, but, like, I also, you know, wouldn't mind just buying some really nice Saiyan armor if I had to. Oh, these aren't even on the screen, sorry. I'm so bad about that and not always showing my work. I try. Alley Cat Cosplay is asking, has anybody asked what your favorite Zelda game is? Not this stream. I'm glad that you're here to watch this live too. My favorite Breath of the Wild game is Breath of the Wild. That's what I meant to say, My favorite Zelda game is Breath of the Wild now. Before Breath of the Wild came out, I would have said my favorite was Ocarina of Time for sure, just because that was like the one I played first as a kid. I do think Breath of the Wild is better, for sure. It kind of takes everything that I love about the spirit of Ocarina of Time and just like is that much more polished and expansive, and it's amazing. It's the best game. So that one's probably my best all-time game. Man, the handle of this is so slippery just because I put lotion on my hands recently. So now it's sliding everywhere. How many of these do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only need 7, which I've already made more than that, but I'm just gonna go ahead and punch the rest of my holes because they're here. And now I'll have extra on hand, ready to go. Ocarina of Time was the first game that Link fan ever played. It was one of mine too. I don't think it was the exact, because I was in a Mario before that, but it was the first Zelda game that I had ever played. So that one and like Mario 64 are really close to my heart as being like some of the first games I ever played in my life. Art Theorist is asking if I have experience with Warbler. I have made some things out of Warbler before for sure, but I generally don't prefer it, so I don't make that much out of Warbler. Hello Dragsaw, welcome. Oh, how did I miss that? There was a $10 donation from Totally Anonymous 3 minutes ago, and I missed it. I am so sorry. Thank you, Totally Anonymous, and sorry I didn't notice that. Also, Indie Hannah Jones, thank you so much for subscribing. Maybe that was when I got up for a moment or something. That's weird. Maybe I just didn't hear it, but thank you very much. Going back to questions here. How is that a link, LOL? Which one are you, who are you speaking to? I don't know. Haven't played Breath of the Wild, Purple Elzir. It's a good one. If you have the time and the opportunity, I recommend it for everyone. Oh, someone bought my oil paints. Oh, thank you. I guess that was Totally Anonymous. I'm so sorry that I somehow missed that, or I don't know what happened there. I did not hear it. You know what? I can replay it. There it is. I forgot that I had the ability to replay it because I'm not good at streaming, but I'm slowly getting better. Thank you so much, Totally Anonymous. It's nice to know that I can replay those notifications to show that it was a wishlist item and not just monetary, because sometimes it like appears differently compared to like on different screens. So anyway, thank you very, very much for the oil paints. Hoping to use those to do a little bit of weathering on some props soon. Alright, I am done punching my holes, so those are ready to go. Now I will show you how it's all going to fit together. I forgot, I actually organized my stuff and put it in a different drawer. But these are like little keychain chains. Oh, I wish they did have the hookshot in Breath of the Wild. You get the glider kind of instead of the hookshot. I mean, it's a different tool, but it's still used to like travel creatively in different ways. But I agree that a hookshot would have been super awesome in Breath of the Wild. Maybe in the next one we'll have a hookshot, because I know that they are gonna make future Zelda games be more in the style of Breath of the Wild. You know, hopefully still variation within that, as I'm sure everyone is unique, but I'm happy to hear that they're going to keep more of that kind of general approach to the game. Okay, so I need 7 of these. So there's 7, and these are the extra. And so I'm basically just gonna string these guys. If I can get, oh my gosh. It's like getting stuck on the inside because of the fur. Little hairs on the inside. So I'm just going to kind of thread this little chain through all of the extras and just keep them together this way. And any time that if I, you know, go grab another color of dye, I now have a little selection of these guys that are like ready to go. I don't have to cut them every time. All right, thank you for bearing with me while I get these set up. I'm gonna keep probably 2 of these because you can connect them, and this is what I end up doing when you have a whole bunch. You just have to make it longer and longer. But there is another chain ready to go, and all of those will get strung on there at the end of tonight, probably. What are the power drills on my wish list for? Asks Kitten. That was surprising to see. I mean, not that surprising, I hope. I was planning on building some sets for photography. So like, different styles would be more or less elaborate, but to have the ability to make basically like small scale theatrical sets that would just be for photo purposes for cosplay. So like I have one in mind, and actually LinkFan here in the chat bought a shoji screen off the wish list that is going to be a part of this, and I also had a larger saw that another person bought off the wish list for this purpose specifically, but basically to build like a fake wall and have like a small interior set. And so yeah, it's a little bit elaborate, and I'm not going to be able to do it until after Katsucon, but that is my plan, and that's why those things are on my list. What would I say is my least favorite Zelda game? I mean, there are some games that I just haven't played, so I feel like it's not fair for me to be like, oh, this one sucks. Because like, just not every one of them is my type. Like Zelda 2, like, I probably wouldn't be any good at that game. I've watched people play it, and I know that it's hard. And Zelda 1 too, like, those kinds of games aren't my jam. So it's not fair for me to be like, oh, those are my least favorite. Because, you know, that's just because I suck. They're not, like, bad games. Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna gradually accumulate a little bit more for, like, woodworking and stuff. And I don't know that I would ever be, like, probably never gonna be, like, a really, dedicated prop maker, because that's a whole huge set of tools, but I want to have the ability to do more of my own prop making and just have a kind of tools at my disposal, because that's also part of why I don't do very much of that. I'm more likely to commission prop items just because I don't have all the tools that would go into building things. So I know a drill maybe doesn't seem like it would be really useful for a lot of things, but it actually is, because you need to put holes in things and screw things together and all that, so. Anna Petty heading to bed. Well, thank you for stopping by tonight, and we'll see you next time. Also, Dark Floof Bun is on their way out. Thank you, Dark Floof Bun, for hanging out with us. That's a cute name. Okay, that's right. I could always say the Philips CDI Zelda game is my least favorite Zelda game, but that doesn't do justice to how funny it is. All right, I'm gonna take a moment and write the names of all of these dyes on the back before I put the color on, so that I don't have to flip them over after they are wet. So this is Canyon Tan. Oh, of course I got leather with like a weird back that doesn't want to hold. Bordeaux. This one is medium brown gel antique. Yeah, sometimes when the leather has like the really fuzzy back, it's a pain in the ass to write on it, but oh well. This is Bison Brown, Timber Brown. briar brown. And mahogany. I ran out of room there, but I'll know. I can read it. Good night to everyone who's leaving. Alright. Okay. So I'm gonna put some gloves on. And I also think I'm gonna go grab some Q-tips because I'm doing such a tiny amount. Normally I would use like sheep's wool to apply the leather, or to the dye, but this would be a waste of like my nicer daubers if I'm only needing to add literally this much amount of color to each one. So I'm gonna use Q-tips for that because they're disposable. So I need to go grab those. It's gonna take me just a few minutes. I will be right back and I will return shortly and we'll put some dye on these and decide what is our chosen color for this belt very shortly. So sit tight and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. I decided to also take a Gatorade break and bring myself back a drink. So thank you for being patient. Also, I just called Jared out for laughing loudly during my stream. And now he's down there cackling a girl. Alright. Now I'm ready to go. So, I'm gonna put my gloves on. And now I have to be careful that I'm actually using the color that lines up with how I have them all labeled. Starting with Canyon Tan. And you want to mix it up a little bit. Pretty sure these have all been opened before, so hopefully I didn't make a mess. Nope. I'm just gonna use a Q-tip to apply it. Q-tips aren't like really ideal for applying leather dye because they absorb so much, but as I mentioned earlier, like the area that we're putting it on is just so small, it doesn't really matter. If I were doing a larger area, I would care more. Now, this is not super high quality leather, honestly. It's got this weird texture to it, which it's not ideally supposed to have that, but that's what this leather looks like. And even though that sucks, this is the exact same leather that I used for the belt. I'm gonna do another layer just to see if it gets any darker. So that'll absorb. So at the very least, this will be an accurate representation of how the belt is going to absorb the color. And so that's what we need, really, is just that information is to know what to expect from our belt. So the next one is Bordeaux. And this one is a water stain. It's the same brand, but it's a different line of product. And I honestly couldn't tell you what the intended difference is supposed to be. I know it's a different formula, but they are both water-based, and they are both, how does this work again? Push it down and then twist it. Let's see if I can figure out a child lock on camera. What is my favorite flavor of Gatorade? I like the blue one. I'm following these instructions. Turn, or press down and turn. I guess at the same time. There we go. All right, see, I have conquered the child lock. So this has kind of a different spout. It seems to be slightly thicker. Maybe that was just the way that I applied it to the Q-tip. I would say it's a little bit less runny. The color is looking really nice and rich though. Especially compared to the other one that like didn't want to soak in that quickly. To be fair, I am going to give it 2 coats because that's how I did the last one. Cool. So this one is Bordeaux, and that is the water stain. All right. Can I rough it up so it absorbs the dye better? That will totally change the appearance. Like, if I rough the surface, that's basically distressing the leather. So that's not what I want for this project. What you're saying yeah, that is something that is a technique you could do. It's just not what I want for this project. Yeah, that could definitely be close to the Zelda belt. I want to pull out my reference images in person too, and I also want to compare it to the other colors of leather that I'm already using before I make my like super final decision. But yeah, I would say that's a promising option. So this one is medium brown gel, which is a different type of product, same brand, also water-based. This is the antiquing gel, which is designed to, hey, Willis Draven. Hopefully that's correct pronunciation. Thank you so much for subscribing. And that is, they have resubscribed for 5 months. Such dedication. So this stuff is definitely thicker, and it's designed to sit into the lowered areas of tooling. So this one's going on really thick and gooey because it's a gel. But it also wipes off really easily, if you can see, as I'm like moving my Q-tip over it. So it's really thick and gooey, but it also like almost scrapes off of the surface as I roll it. So the way that it's basically designed to seep into the depressions, or like the impressions that you've made with tooling, and then you wipe away the top of the surface. And so this can influence the tone of the piece overall and make it a little bit darker looking, but it's also really good just for adding like a shadowed effect. So I will most likely be putting one of the two gel antiques that I have onto the belt, so we can kind of layer them to create a kind of combined color. Okay, so this one is Bison Brown, which is also just a regular leather dye from the EcoFlow range. These are actually all EcoFlow products. These are all water-based dyes. You can also get oil or alcohol-based dyes, but this is what I primarily use because it's non-toxic and it's easy to clean up and it's easy to mix. And all of these colors can be mixed with each other or watered down. And so I tend to use these most of the time. So this one's a little bit darker brown and a little bit cooler brown. Probably not ideal for our project, but nice to have a sample all the same, because I need them. So there's that one. People are liking the middle one. I agree, that one's probably the most promising for right now. Oh, I haven't been shaking every last one of them. Oops. I think that they're probably fine though for samples. So this one is Timber Brown, which is a little bit lighter, a little bit, I think, orangier if I recall correctly. Let's find out. Well, not super orangey, but a little bit of a lighter warm brown. I'll do my 2 coats of this one too. I try to apply roughly the same amount because some of them are just naturally very, like, more pigmented than the others. But I don't want to put like tons and tons of layers on one of them and only a little bit on another. Because you want to get a general idea of how they will perform against each other and be a little bit consistent with your application. Nerdy Burb is asking, did I use the gel before or after the other dyes? You would use the other dyes first. So it would be like whatever your base color is, and then use the gel on top of that. So this one is Briar Brown. This is a highlight color stain, which is more or less the same as the gel. I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you exactly what the difference is, but it does operate in the same principle as the gel, in that it is designed to be rubbed away. But either one of these two, you could also just use it as the base color. It would be a more consistent result than what the product is like designed to do, but it will work. So I think this one's also a gel. It kind of has that same property of like going on really thick, but also just kind of wiping away and not really soaking in a ton. But it's a much lighter color overall. So there's another option. I need to add a second layer to that because I did a second layer on the other ones too. So it gets a little bit darker when you layer it, but it kind of needs time to soak in. So if I really let that sit longer and then continue to apply more layers, I could probably get even more color out of it, but I'm not trying to do that right now. I'm just trying to make my samples. So there's that one. And we have one last one, which is my second antique gel antique. And this one is Mahogany. So I feel like this one is going to be more similar to the color, the style that we want. Art Theorist is loving the stream right now. Miss Minty Fresh, praise the sun. Yeah, mixing colors is fun. Color theory is very important for all different areas of art, including cosplay. Yeah, so this is another gel, and this is another really dark, warm color. So I feel like this gel could be used over one of the more medium browns if I wanted to, kind of create a little bit more variation. Or I could just use the gel over the Bordeaux if I want to really go crazy, because these are so similar. They're pretty similar. So I could definitely use this gel to enhance the shadows on this one. But before I make my choice, I can also do more samples if I'm like, oh, I want to see what, you know, one of these looks like with the antique gel over it. I can do that. I can sit here and do more samples if I want. But the thing that I really want to do is compare these colors to the other leathers that I am already using, which are the gloves that were pre-made and the leather that I'm using for the boots. So I'm going to grab a sample of those. So there's actually 3 colors here. This is the glove. I didn't make this glove, I just bought it, and it's honestly darker and not as warm toned as I wish it were, because these are the other 2 colors. This one's for the bag and this one is for the boots. And I like these a lot more, and I think they're a lot closer to what is accurate. So I wish that my gloves were the right color, but they're a little bit too dark compared to the others, and I can't do anything about it. I can replace the gloves at some point if I want to, but I'm not going to worry about it right now because I have other things on my mind. So, sucks that those don't match, but removing that one from the equation and just looking at the other 2. This is bag leather and this is boot leather. Loving the last color, says Dry Erase Girl. More samples, more samples. Everyone's excited about comparing all of these. I think that one is really close. This is the antique gel. Yeah, this is the mahogany antique gel. I feel like that's definitely gonna go over something. This one is in the right ballpark for sure, but I'm wondering if it's like too red and not enough brown. I'm also comparing it to this, which my stuff is definitely a little bit on the reddish side compared to what is like super accurate. And this is also my printer. See, if you're looking at the digital version on the screen, it looks a little bit more saturated. Art Theorist says, I'm physically hurting them. They still match with the pants. It's optimism, yeah. The bottom ones on the right look perfect. That's the ones that I'm holding now, I'm sure. Bottom 2. Link Fan gifted a sub to Art Theorist. Link Fan here is everybody's sugar daddy gifting the subs. I feel like you gift a sub like every stream. Thank you, Link Fan. Thank you, Art Theorist. I'm sorry for hurting you, Art Theorist, but Link Fan is here to make it up to you. Alright, now looking at them in person, and again, I feel like the camera distorts it a little bit. I continually gravitate to this one over this one, and I think that this one is just a little bit closer to what I wish that it was. Now, if I were to combine this one with one of the other colors here, this is the other gel antique, so I don't think that's the right one, and this one is super bright and just not really in the right family there. But if I were to combine one of these, let's do it that way, and use the antique gel over it, I think this is the way to go. Is to start with this base color and then add a little bit more darkness and a little bit more of the warm tone, but not have it be super like red, which I don't know if it's just me, or it might, it looks a little bit more exaggerated on the screen, where this one is a little bit more, I don't know, I feel like it's just a little bit too red. But I'm gonna try this combination, see how I like it, and then compare them, and then that'll probably be my final choice. So those guys can just hang out for now. And these can also be set aside. I'm also gonna do a larger sample on this just because I can. So I'm just gonna cut a big old chunk of this. Now my winning colors were bison brown and mahogany. So bison brown is this one. I think I missed some responses. That's right, Maker Geek. There is science going on. We are testing colors to see which one is going to give us the results we want. So now I'm taking my bison brown. We're just gonna do one layer. I'm not gonna worry about trying to build up color on this one. And also because I think I wanna just generally try to do one layer on the belt and not do lots of layers. I am just kind of continuing to blend it though. But I'm not gonna refill my Q-tip. Alright, there's a start of bison brown. Yeah, I think that my reds or my browns are a little bit on the red side. Oh, I also just realized that my computer has like the night vision colors on right now where it like gets more yellow towards the end of the night. So I'm looking at it on the screen and it looks really red, but in person it's not as red. So that also, I just solved part of the mystery there, in that what I'm currently viewing on my own monitor in real life is way more like orangey than the colors are physically in person. Yes, it will blend. Okay, I'm just gonna use the back side of this. And this is super goopy. Mahogany. Wow, yeah, that's adding, it's so much richer and darker applied over another color. This gel does really well with, in layers particularly. This is actually very rich and dark. I might do another sample then using one of the lighter browns as a base. I don't know, what do you guys think? It's pretty dark. It is darker than the printed reference image that's in front of me though. That's another thing to consider. And it is also darker than my other samples right here. So I think that might actually be too dark, looking at them all together. But I don't hate it. I think it's kind of nice. Kelding Gull just subscribed, but LinkFan gifted that sub as well. LinkFan, making it rain. Oh, thank you, LinkFan. LinkFan just likes to give the gift of subs to everyone. So that turned out even darker than I necessarily wanted. I do think that this color in particular is actually pretty accurate. I don't know how it looks to you all on screen and all of that. The printer kind of distorts the colors. They're kind of faint here, but looking at the reference images, both on my my phone and the printer, this one I think is a pretty solid color for what I'm going for. So that said, maybe I shouldn't worry so much about the other one and just try to worry about matching to this. This is darker than that for sure, so I'm going to take a look at a different combination that would include the mahogany, but using either the timber or the briar brown. I guess I'll start light, timber brown. We'll give this one more try. Cutting another big chunk over here. Art Theorist is like, LinkFan, are you Santa? I mean, he kind of is the Santa of this stream and many other streams. Back to the sample board, that's right. You know, it sucks to have to take extra time out that I could be just dyeing this belt over here, but think about how much happier I will be knowing that this is for sure the color that I want. This is Timber Brown. This is a much lighter base color we will start with and then add the mahogany to this. Yeah, it's super light. I'm gonna need to have multiple dippings just because this soaks up the color so quickly and you still can't see a ton of it. So yeah. The Q-tip is still not ideal, but it's working for now. And then I'll use the wool dauber when we get to the actual piece, which should be soon. All right, there's my base color. And next we'll add mahogany. The bison brown matches the most, says Garma 56. Is that what yeah. Yeah, it is, but I'm afraid that, like, because it's so similar, I'm afraid that it'll be too dark after adding this. So that's why I went lighter, because the last one darkened so much. So this time I was like, I'll start with a lighter base color to see if I don't overshoot it. So then this would sink down into all of those details. I think I'm just gonna wipe this off with a paper towel because there's still a lot on here. Then you just kind of buff it. So that's what I would do to the belt, and it would particularly take the color off of the raised areas. All right, what do you think? This is actually way more similar than I expected. The mahogany really just overpowers the base color so much. Oh, hey Tina, welcome Tina. I'm so happy to see you here. Why not use the bigger pieces for multiple test samples? Because I do want the bigger piece. I think it'll help me color match. So that's what I want to go. Could I fix it by thinning it? I mean, I would rather just have the right color instead of having to continually mix. Well, Briar Brown is definitely the closest on its own, but that's still weird looking. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I just did this combination and I didn't love it. But this is what I can for sure get. We're here trying to figure out what the correct color is for this belt that I just made, and I'm about to put the color on it. I'm like ready to go. You'd like to see more red, says Maker Geek. I kind of agree. I can try the other gel. The other gel is super brown. This is the other gel. So it's like a really yellow brown. I don't think that's the right direction to go, but the mahogany, sorry, yeah, this is the mahogany, apparently just overpowers all other base colors because both of these larger samples just turned out looking almost exactly like that one. What if I use this one or this guy as a base? I could try that. This one is Canyon Tan. This is super light, and I've got another one ready right here. All right, we're gonna try one more sample with mahogany, and if it's too dark with even the Canyon Tan, then there's nothing I can do. And I'm out of Q-tips. I should have conserved those a little bit more. Tina Dayton just subscribed. Thank you so much, Tina. I miss you, Tina. Thanks for coming to my stream. Do I have any more? Oh, I have like just a few Q-tips over here. Perfect. So I just saved myself another trip out of the room. Okay, we're starting with Canyon Tan, which is the super light color. But it's actually pretty nice. I think we're in the right range of like color family. It is streakier. Someone mentioned the lighter colors look streakier. It's because the leather absorbs so quickly. So you want to put it on and move it around so you don't get hard edges. And part of the issue is also that I'm using a very fine utensil, using a tiny Q-tip to apply it. If I were using a larger like wool dauber that had a bigger head on it, that would be a lot easier to apply the color evenly. And I just tossed this one even though I'm going to use the other side. So now with mahogany over it, and we'll see if this just totally overpowers it like it did the other colors. I think the antique gel just kind of takes over. buffing off all of the extra. How are we looking? Oh dang, I think this might have actually worked. I don't know, am I calling it too early? I mean, it's not like flawlessly identical, but that's definitely the right kind of color range. Compared to the other two, they are really all similar though. I don't know, I guess I've just been looking at this for so long. What do you think, guys? It looks weird on camera. The bottom right color? Well, I'm trying to match it to this, so I feel like, I don't know. Now I can see variations in them, but it seems kind of faint. Found a winner. You guys do think it's a little better? The bottom right corner alone. Oh, this one? I don't know if it's just the way that it's picked up on camera, but I see what you're saying. However, I just don't think they're as close in real life. Like, I'm comparing them all here. I don't know. They're definitely not as close in real life as it appears on camera, and I would say that these two are more similar in real life, which is odd that there is that kind of difference, but I think it's noticeable enough. I could still just go with the mahogany, though. Can it be mixed to work? I don't know. The thing about this, I really wanted to use the antique gel specifically because it's going to have another effect on the tooling that isn't necessarily obvious right now. Scolio Reset, thank you so much for the subscription. Welcome to our stream today. Cameras are weird, yeah. Alright, I'm going to do last one, I swear to God, and then I'm picking a combination and I'm just going to live with it. But this is, okay, this is the one, this is Bordeaux, which is the one everyone keeps talking about, saying, why don't you just do that one? Well, I'm going to try this one more time. I really wanted to use the antique gel because I wanted to see the effect that it will have on the tooling specifically, which is that it will hopefully create a little bit more dimension and seep down into the lowered areas and just really like highlight the difference in the levels there. That said, if I can get away with using only one layer or less steps in general, that will be, you know, better. But I want to be happy with whatever my final color is. So now I have a pretty large sample piece of just this color. It does look really good on camera, but once again, I feel like well, I know the colors that I'm seeing on my monitor are not accurate, and so I don't want to get overly invested in how it's appearing on the monitor right now. Okay, so these are all of the other ones that have been tried with the mahogany. But now that I'm looking at these together, or I'll just be indecisive forever. Alright, I'm gonna add it to like half. What if I do that? Yeah, it is just really heavily pigmented. It might be just too much. I might just not... I've been trying to use the... Oh, that actually does wipe off nicely. That might be our winner. It's got a lot of nice dimension. It blends in well with the other guy here. What do you guys think? Camera eyes. Keldingle says, trust your eyes, Heidi. We all see with camera eyes. And you're right. My eyes are the best test because I'm here to see it in person, and as much as I can appreciate feedback from you guys, you're all seeing it through a filter, which is the camera, and so that has to be taken into consideration. So yeah, these are all just pretty red, and they don't have as much of the of like orangey color in it. Okay, so I said that was gonna be my last combination, but I lied. I'm gonna try putting the Briar Brown highlight stain, which is this other one that I said was similar to the Gel Antique. I'm gonna try that over the part that I didn't put the gel, the mahogany gel on. I'm gonna see how this combination goes. Because this one is a little bit more bright and a little bit more orange. And I'm wondering if I should just start with the other base and then knock it back toward the orange. I also feel like adding the highlight also just makes it a little bit more, oh, that's lovely. There it is, guys. That's it. That's the combination we need, which is actually Bordeaux as the base color and Briar Brown highlight stain as the highlight, or to emphasize the dimension. Boom, got it. That's what we have. That's the match that I'm really happy with in person and on camera. That is correct. I got that that orangey color instead of just relying on like the reddish brown. Cool. All right. Sorry that took so long, but sometimes you just have to try different combinations until you end up with the right one. And now we have it. Everybody is excited in the chat. No, I don't need Jared's opinion. People are like, go ask Jared since he's there. Lib Jumper wants to ask a question about leatherwork. Yeah, go for it, man. All right, I'm about to set up a little bit and then we're gonna dye the real belt right now as soon as I rearrange a few things. Bordeaux for the win with the Briar Brown. So these are our winners right here. This combination. I knew we could do it. We got it. Okay. So I can move this over a little bit. I'm basically just going to clear my work area a little bit, and then the belt will be right here. These things will not be. So bear with me for a moment. Oh, I'm going to change my scene too. There we go. So I am going to, these are just like trash bags that I'm laying out. You could use like a tarp or whatever else. Oh, and you can see my lovely sewing in the background. So I got two of these to lay out because unlike with the tooling, I don't want my belt to move around. Like once I start dyeing it, I want it to stay in the same position and not have to be moved. I'm also going to move this. This is my sample of my Twilight Princess shoulders that I was showing off on my last stream. I'm going to move them away because I don't want anything that's like a nice finished piece to come into contact with any of the dye. I'm also going to put on my fancy apron. Let me put on this apron real fast. Here's my super special Atelier Heidi apron that I got. You can follow the link, Kodo Organics. The link in my description will show you where this came from. Lib Jumper Cosplay, thank you for the cheer. Their question in the chat was, what is a reasonable hourly rate for a costume artist or someone who's doing these kinds of works on commission? That's going to be highly dependent upon where you live and what a reasonable wage is for, I guess, like your cost of living and stuff. But I would say you would never want to earn less than minimum wage, which is honestly too low in a lot of places. And in most cases, you're doing skilled labor. You're not doing unskilled labor. Like you're not doing like a retail job or answering phones or serving waiting tables. Like you should be getting an amount that reflects the expertise and the knowledge you put into your work. So a lot of people undersell themselves and they don't charge nearly enough because of those factors. So I would say, like, it's not that I have a perfect amount for you that you should be charging. I would say at minimum, you could maybe start at like $10 an hour and go up from there. That's what a lot of people do probably here. But honestly, you should be earning more than that anyway, because $10 an hour is really low for any kind of unskilled job. But I would say that that's like, if you don't have a lot of confidence in yourself, I would still never go any lower than that. $4 is a gallon of milk. Yeah, dude, I mean, that's still really hard for anybody to answer that question for you because, but I would just say, yeah, just don't undersell yourself. Even $10 an hour is so little. You should be making $15 or $20 an hour if you're doing something that's more, that requires, you know, skill and especially something that takes you years to learn. Okay, so we're starting with Bordeaux. We're going back over it with this guy, which is the Briar Brown. And I am going to use a different utensil this time. Let's see what I've got. These are wool daubers. You can also just use like a chunk of wool. It doesn't have to be like a pre-made thing. But this is nice because it comes with a stick to hold it. Piece of Hannah says these are inspirational. That's great. I'm glad. I'm also a lurker at heart. Lauren's turtle is going to bed. I think I missed that a little bit, but have a good night if you're still here. Link fan says, one thing that annoys me to no end is the idea that, quote, true artists should never be paid. I agree with that. And I want to say thank you, Link fan, for coming to the stream and making sure I get paid. And also supporting many other performers and streamers. Alright, we're going for it. We've got a little swab of Bordeaux, and I'm just going to start applying it. You want to make sure that you're getting into the cracks, especially in areas that have texture. I wish I had a better lighting setup for this and a camera that could show the details. I'm sorry, but this will certainly give you the idea of how this works. Right now I'm doing only the top and the sides. I'm gonna selectively dye the back, but not everywhere. But for right now, top and sides. I feel like this really highlights all of the tooling and impressions we've done too. I will show it off in greater detail once I'm done applying it. I can't really move it around too much while I'm putting the dye on it, but you will get a much nicer look at it before the end. Rest assured. So I want to make sure that the dye gets onto the edges for sure. And like I said, certain parts of the back, basically this whole elbow section will be dyed on the back, but the rest will not, because I don't want that dyed belt to be rubbing up against my white coat for long periods of time. I am going to seal the whole thing, so it shouldn't really create a problem, but you just, in general, don't want that to be in contact with like a really light fabric, in case there are any signs of mishaps or it doesn't get 100% fully sealed somewhere. If any amount of moisture touches it, it's going to reactivate the dye and transfer the pigment, which is what happened to my Asuna cosplay several years ago. I did a photo shoot in the snow with it, and I had sealed the red straps around her shoulder, but I guess it just wasn't 100% on the back. Like, there was clearly some amount of moisture touched that dye and reactivated it, and it transferred onto all of my like lovely white pieces that I wear with that costume. So that was the last time I ever wore that costume. It had a good run. It was a good costume. But I learned my lesson of not putting dye places that it doesn't absolutely have to be, and also just really being careful with making sure you're getting a consistent seal on everything. Now, I'm not doing multiple coats on this as much as I am just trying to make sure that there aren't hard edges and that everything gets blended together. But even so, I feel like this is coming out really dark compared to our test piece, but we are committed and this is what it's going to look like, so there's no going back now, even if it comes out darker than what I expected. It could also be a difference in just not having a direct overhead light on it compared to what it looked like on my work table over there. And if people are posting questions in the chat, I can't really stop and read them right at this moment. I will be back momentarily. After this layer is applied, I'll check out what all the comments you guys are making and stuff and answer questions. Alright, we're nearly there. I'm approaching the end. Oops, and then I squirted. Oh, I squirted, you guys. That's okay. That's why I have these trash bags laid down. Luckily, this dye is pretty easy to clean up. It does stain anything that can be stained, but it comes off of like plastic, especially if you remove it right away. If you let it sit in, it can kind of soak into the... It can change the color of the plastic too. Soak that up. I don't think that did very much, but... luckily, this stuff is water-based. It will stain your hands if you touch it, because it's, you know... It's staining skin right now. It's what it's designed to work for. So that's why I wear the gloves, but it is perfectly safe to handle. You don't need a respirator, you don't need any other type of protection aside from just it will discolor things, so. That is its job. Okay, I'm tossing that dauber right away. Red Bard heading out. Have a good night. Seeing that dye soak in. Will the dye bleed out if the belt gets wet? Yeah, at least a little bit. But if I seal it, I can ideally prevent that. Oh, Blue Medchen, sorry that your phone was ringing. He just really wants you to attend Heidi streams. And yeah, this does look super dark. I guess I could pick it up. It dries to the touch very quickly. If I were handling this with bare hands, it would probably... see, look at that. It looks even darker, but it's fine. For right now, I'm going to put the highlight stain on it, because we're committed. But... you can pick it up and move it around a little bit. You just want to be generally careful. Okay, so this stuff is the stuff that goes on thicker. I wish I had another light over here, because yeah, it all just looks really dark. But bear with me. And we'll see how it all turns out in the end. This is actually giving me pretty nice coverage. It just like goes on really smoothly. I'm not as worried about getting around the edges now because we've already got a base color on everything. This is really to hopefully pull out some of the dimension. Oh, that looks cool. You can see like the highlight on it. Now I'm gonna rub it down with a paper towel to kind of like pull a little bit of color off the highlights. That's what the point of this is, so that it stays darker in the lower areas and it lightens the color a little bit on the higher areas. I'm like rubbing too much now. Alright, now I'm just going to make my way down the rest of this bad boy. And you can kind of see a little bit of the raised details in this dream. At least on my monitor I can. Hopefully you can as well. But I think it really does even out the color and bring a nice quality to it, so. You know what, if this ends up being darker than I wanted overall, then hell. I can always make another one. I made this one. I don't think that'll be necessary though. I think this will be fine. I'm just saying, it's not the end of the world if things don't turn out exactly as expected. Sometimes you can do 10 color tests and then for whatever reason your final one just looks a lot darker, but it's part of the experience of just making stuff. I definitely like the addition of the highlight stain regardless of the pigment being darker overall. Like, I'm still gonna keep adding this stuff to everything because it just like changes it somehow. It's hard to describe exactly, but like I said, it's the difference of creating more dimension in the highlights and lowlights. It's not just adding more pigment everywhere. So that's why it's still super worth it, even though we're looking at a slightly darker belt overall. It's a little bit more of a gooey consistency too, whereas the dye is like pretty runny and gets absorbed right away. This stuff is designed to sit on the surface for a little while so that you have time to like move it around and rub it off. And I think that is what is really contributing to the ability to like add dimension to highlights and lowlights. Or to yeah, raised areas and shadows. I also think, right now it's shiny because it's wet. When it dries, it's not necessarily going to be shiny, but I can put a shiny finish on it. And I think the shiny finish is going to be really nice because it's going to make the highlights and the dimension pop. Since it has a physical texture to it with the tooling, if I keep it like, keep it glossy, those highlights, or those raised areas, the edges will catch the light. And you'll be able to see the design even more. So that's definitely my plan, and I'm glad that I thought of that. Thought about while I was looking at it wet, because now I know what kind of finish I want it to have. Also, when I'm trying to decide on a finish, I consider the character and like what their environment is like, what their world is like. Zelda is a princess, so it makes sense for her outfit to be very shiny and pretty, and she's got the whole court to help dress her. And you know, theoretically, she's got the very best of Hylian technology and fashion at her disposal. Compared to Link, I would keep everything a little bit more rough around the edges with less polish and less gloss, because he's the guy who's like, you know, running around the countryside fighting things, and his outfit isn't going to be pristine in the same way that Zelda's is. Before I take my gloves off, I'm going to lift this up and show it to you again. As I move it in the light, you can see some of that design reflecting, and the autofocus too is doing that work. So it looks pretty dark right now. Here it is in the other camera. And that looks pretty nice, I think. Link is a trash boy, says Synchraphy. A little bit. So that's one thing that can go into your decision making for when you're trying to decide what the finishing details of the costume should look like, is to kind of consider, like, you know, the character's life and what are they doing. So yeah, Zelda's shiny. Alright guys, I'm gonna put this camera back on me. I said I would show off my sewing work, but now I've like been touching dye and I'm paranoid that the white fabric is going to get stained somehow, so. Autofocus. There, it did. Okay. So I'm pretty much just going to sign off and say goodbye to you all for now. I got a lot done today. This is going to just like sit overnight. I do need to dye the back, which I might do off camera tonight or tomorrow or something, just so it'll be ready to move on. Like I said, I'm only going to add dye to the part that's hanging because that's the part that could conceivably like flip over, or you'd be able to see the back of it at times. The rest of it that's going to be smooth around my body, I'm not going to dye the back because, like I said, I don't want that dye to rub off on the coat. So that's how that's going to be. Purple Alzir says, I feel the random Jared sounds are really adding to this stream. Can you still hear him going on and on in the background? It's pretty dark, but the designs look so good. They really pop, says Tiny Bear. Yeah, I agree. It's darker than I wish that it was. It sucks that it came out a little bit darker than the samples that we did. Yeah, it's way darker. But it's in the right color family, and it's out of my hands now. I did what I could. Bloomin' Medchen heading out. Well, I'm also heading out. This is the end of my stream. Thank you guys so much for coming. LinkFan, thank you for making it rain. Shout out to LinkFan for as top donator of the stream. That's a lot, man. Thank you all for your support, and thanks for just showing up and hanging out with me. That's what really matters to me the most. You know, money is really nice, but also just thank you guys for being here and chatting and with each other and with me. It might go a little bit brighter as it dries. Keldingle was asking, because it is usually wetter when darker when it's wet. That is a good point, so it might lighten up still a little bit, but usually the results are pretty accurate from the beginning. But that's what it is. It is what it is. So, alright guys, my next stream will be Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m. Pacific time, and I'm going to be picking up exactly where we left off today. So you will see more of this leather belt very soon. And until next time, goodbye everyone.